Mike Tomlin isn't known for giving away much during his press conferences. If there's one thing fans and media alike have learned over the years, it's that Tomlin guards game plans like state secrets. So when he takes a detour from a usual coach speak and offers something even remotely transparent, it grabs attention. And that's exactly what happened ahead of the Steelers matchup with Cleveland. Tomlin was asked a simple question. Were the heavier sets used against Minnesota something specific to the Vikings or a potential blueprint moving forward? And instead of dodging it, downplaying it, or shutting it down with one of his classic "we'll see" answers, Tomlin gave a response that not only revealed strategy, but also hinted at a bigger shift in the Steelers' offensive identity. He said plain and simple, when facing 4-3 defenses, the Steelers have a certain personality. He wasn't vague. He wasn't careful. He was direct. That's why they drafted Darnell Washington. That's why they've been leaning into bigger bodies on the edges. Because, as Tomlin put it, you can't play 4-3 teams with tight ends who weigh 250 pounds. The analogy he used made it even clearer. There are weight classes in combat sports for a reason. If you're going up against 300-pound edge defenders, you better have someone who looks like they belong in that fight. That's the logic. That's the identity. What makes that moment so significant is that it flies in the face of how Tomlin typically handles media interactions. This is a coach who rarely gives opponents even the smallest tactical hint. So to see him lay out this thought process so openly almost feels like a breadcrumb trail for fans, and maybe even for the locker room. Because hidden in that answer is more than just a comment on personnel groupings. It's a public endorsement of a changing guard, a shifting depth chart. Without outright saying it, Tomlin may have just given Darnell Washington the title of TE1. And if you were watching the snap counts against Minnesota, the writing was already on the wall. Out of 53 offensive plays, Washington was on the field for 48 of them. That's nearly every down. Meanwhile, Jonnu Smith had just 16, and Pat Freiermuth only 15. Those numbers don't lie. Those numbers speak volumes. This wasn't a one-off experiment or some situational gimmick to exploit Minnesota's tendencies. This was a clear, calculated move that signals something much bigger. A shift toward physical dominance at the line of scrimmage and a commitment to a style that prioritizes size and strength on the edges. And if you're still not buying into that idea, rewind again to Tomlin's words. He said it's not fair to ask guys like Pat Freiermuth or Connor Hayward to block 300-pound defensive ends. And he's right. That's a mismatch from the jump. The league has changed. Defenses are faster, heavier, and more complex. If you're trying to run the ball effectively, if you're trying to control tempo and impose your will, you need the kind of player who doesn't just survive in those trenches. You need someone who thrives there. That's Washington. That's why he's logging near every down reps. That's why Tomlin's comments feel like more than just offhand insight. They feel like a turning point. But as much as that shift is encouraging for the Steelers' ground game and physical identity, it won't mean much if they don't start converting on third downs. And that's where this conversation gets real. Because right now, this team is sitting at the 20th spot in the NFL in third down conversion percentage. Just under 39%. That's not going to get it done, not consistently. That's not where you want to be if you're serious about making noise in January. Even in the win over Minnesota, they only inched up to 40%. Marginal improvement, but still not top tier. For context, the best offenses in the league are up above 42, 43% in this category. That's where you need to be if you want to sustain drives and control games. Part of the problem is obvious. The passing game has lacked rhythm. There's no fluidity between early down production and third down execution. And the tight ends, the original tight ends, the ones with track records, aren't being featured the way they should. Jonnu Smith had 88 receptions last season in Miami. Over 50 of those went for first downs. That's not just productivity, that's chain-moving consistency. And Freiermuth has proven, year after year, that he can be a reliable outlet in pressure situations. But their roles have been reduced. Their snaps have been limited. So while Washington's rise is exciting and opens up a different dimension to the offense, there has to be a way to get the others involved, especially when it matters most, like on third and manageable. Now, maybe Washington continues to evolve. Maybe he becomes more than just a sixth lineman with soft hands. Maybe he turns into a legitimate downfield threat. He's got the physical tools, no doubt. But development takes time. And while the Steelers are clearly betting on him, they can't afford to wait around if the conversion rates stay where they are. This isn't about choosing between one tight end or another. This is about finding a balance that lets all of them contribute in meaningful ways. That's where this coaching staff is going to earn its paycheck. Can they design packages that lean into Washington's blocking strength without becoming predictable? Can they mix in Freiermuth and Smith in ways that exploit mismatches and open up the middle of the field? That's the challenge. That's the next step. And while Tomlin's honesty about the team's personality against 4-3 defenses was refreshing, it's not a magic bullet. It doesn't fix the third down numbers. It doesn't guarantee results. It's a piece of the puzzle, but only if the execution follows. The Steelers are coming out of the bye with a sense of momentum, but also a sense of urgency. The margin for error in the AFC is razor thin. Every game matters. Every third down matters. And with Cleveland's defense on the horizon, things are only going to get more intense. This isn't a soft landing. This isn't a team you can sleepwalk against and expect to flip the switch in the second half. The Browns' defense is elite. They can pressure the quarterback. They can lock down receivers. They can make life miserable if you're not sharp and disciplined from the opening whistle. So yes, this might not be the week where the offense breaks out and hangs 30 points. But it needs to be the week where they show progress, where the identity that Tomlin talked about translates into sustained drives and points on the board. Because eventually, the training wheels that guys like Washington and Spencer Anderson are wearing have to come off. They can't be crutches forever. At some point, this offense has to stand on its own, execute cleanly, and win matchups, regardless of the personnel groupings or the defensive scheme on the other side. That's where the Steelers are right now. A team with a strong defense, a shifting offensive identity, and a lot to prove. And as much as we're all fascinated by the emergence of a young tight end or the coach's uncharacteristic honesty, it all comes down to what happens on 3rd and 5 on the road with the game in a balance. That's where this season will be decided. While the focus on the Steelers' offensive identity is crucial, there's another narrative quietly simmering under the surface. One that involves perception versus reality, especially when it comes to how Mike Tomlin's teams perform against so-called inferior opponents. The idea of the Tomlin trap game has lived for years among fans and media, almost like an unspoken rule. If the Steelers are facing a team with a losing record, particularly on the road, danger is looming. It's a storyline that's clung to this franchise for over a decade, fueled by a few ugly losses that stand out in memory. But when you actually dig into the numbers, the truth flips that narrative on its head. From 2019 through the end of last season, Tomlin's record against teams that finished the year with a losing record was 17 wins and just 4 losses. That's an 810 winning percentage. Think about that for a second. That's not mediocre. That's not even average. That's dominance. And when you look around the rest of the league, at respected names like Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan, Bill Belichick, Pete Carroll, Tomlin's record in that specific context is better than theirs. Those coaches have all lost more frequently to teams that ended up with 6 or fewer wins. And yet Tomlin's name is the one constantly attached to the idea of playing down to the competition. Why? Because of a few high-profile stumbles, like that loss in Oakland a few years ago, or an inexplicable showing against the Jets or Bears. These games stick in people's minds because they were so frustrating, so preventable. And when fans latch on to moments like that, they build an entire mythology around them. But the truth, the cold, statistical truth, is that Tomlin has been one of the most reliable coaches in the league at taking care of business when he's supposed to. When the Steelers are favorites, they usually win. When the opponent is shorthanded or struggling, more often than not, Pittsburgh walks out with a victory. That's not narrative. That's math. Now let's be clear, the Browns do not fall into that bad team category, at least not defensively. Their record might not sparkle, but the product on the field, particularly on that side of the ball, is legit. This isn't a case of a team limping into the matchup, waiting to be steamrolled. Cleveland's defense is fast, disciplined, and capable of wrecking game plans. They pressure quarterbacks with ease. They tackle well in space. And they're particularly dangerous when it comes to collapsing pockets and forcing offenses into long, uncomfortable situations. That's not the kind of unit you overlook. That's the kind of unit you have to game plan for with extreme detail. So if anyone's looking at this matchup and circling it as another trap, they've already missed the point. This is going to be a brawl. And here's the reality the Steelers' offense has to confront. It's not just about having bigger bodies or redefining your personality. You still need execution. You still need to win one-on-one matchups. You still need to get off the field on third down if you're the defense and stay on it if you're the offense. Every inch will matter in this game, and every mistake will be magnified. If the offensive line slips up, if the quarterback holds the ball too long, if the wide receivers aren't getting separation, Cleveland will make them pay. So this idea that the Steelers can just overpower their way to success with extra tight ends and jumbo packages is appealing, but only if it's paired with efficiency and discipline. This is also a huge opportunity for Kenny Pickett. These are the kinds of games that can define a young quarterback. Games against elite defenses, games where field position matters, where drives are long and ugly, where success isn't always explosive but rather methodical and earned. These are the proving grounds. And if Pickett wants to quiet the doubters, this is the kind of stage where he has to show it. Not just with a highlight or two, but with smart decisions, clean throws on third down, and command in the huddle. No one's expecting him to outduel Patrick Mahomes in a shootout, but he has to keep the offense moving. He has to finish drives, and the coaching staff has to help him. That means crafting a plan that gets the ball out quickly, establishes rhythm, and uses play action smartly. That means continuing to build on what worked against Minnesota, controlling the edges with Washington, rotating tight, and to keep the defense guessing, and mixing run and pass in a way that keeps the chains moving. This can't be one of those games where you try to do too much. It has to be simple, effective football. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The NFL world is buzzing this morning with what could be one of the most electrifying defensive moves of the offseason. Budda Baker is reportedly heading to Pittsburgh. While the Steelers have not yet confirmed the deal publicly, sources close to the situation suggest that the hard-hitting safety is set to join a defense hungry for leadership and playmaking ability. Baker, known for his relentless sideline-to-sideline range and instinctive reads, instantly transforms the Steelers back end into one of the most feared units in the league. Pittsburgh's defensive woes in recent seasons have been well documented. Injuries, inconsistent play, and a lack of on-field leadership have left the team searching for a true anchor in the secondary. Enter Budda Baker, a player whose presence commands attention not only for his tackling and coverage skills, but also for his vocal leadership and ability to elevate teammates. Rumors suggest that the Steelers see Baker as more than just a player. They see him as the heartbeat of a defense that has long needed one. Fans have already begun speculating how Baker will fit into Pittsburgh schemes. With his versatility, Baker could roam the middle as a traditional strong safety or shift into a box role to disrupt opposing offenses at the line of scrimmage. The mere possibility of Baker patrolling the Steelers' defensive backfield has ignited excitement on social media, with analysts predicting immediate improvement across the board. Even veteran players reportedly welcome his arrival, anticipating a shift in locker room dynamics toward accountability and intensity. Of course, the move comes with questions. How will Baker's style mesh with the existing secondary? What impact will he have on younger defenders still finding their footing? And can the Steelers' front seven capitalize on the opportunities a dynamic safety like Baker will create? While answers remain uncertain, one thing seems clear. If this rumor becomes reality, Pittsburgh's defense just gained not only a top-tier talent, but a true leader who could change the trajectory of their season. Whether this deal finalizes or remains a tantalizing whisper, the Steelers' fan base is already dreaming big. Budda Baker in black and gold could mark the dawn of a new defensive era in Pittsburgh, one full of hits, leadership, and game-changing plays. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.